Pending. All right. So do not disturb. All right. So, hi everybody. Welcome to our VoIP training seminar. This system is very, very easy to use. It's very intuitive. I'm just going to walk through all the steps real quick here, and I'm going to make sure that the credentials to log into this are shared in the OneNote, because they're not currently, but they will be after this meeting. So there are two different logins you'll always use to get into the system. There's the Big Time Administrator login, which is 101 at innovativetcs.com, and then there are your individual logins, which we're going to go over as well. So first things first, we're going to log in as the Big Time admin, and the website is voice.innovativetcs.com. First thing you're going to see is just this really flat overview for all of our clients. So these are the peak calls for all clients for the time. There are currently 12 active phone calls in the system. The system has handled almost 1,000 phone calls today, and it's handled 1,300 minutes today. You can also see metrics for the month and the previous month. You can break this down by domain, and you can do call history for all domains at the same time too. The only way to add a phone number is from this login right here on this inventory button. So you can add a phone number and assign it to whoever you want to assign it to, but it has to be assigned to a customer. So if I want to assign a phone number, I would type that in and then type the domain in, which is going to be Innotech. And I can leave it as available or write a note on it, Adam's cell phone, so I know to delete it later. And then it shows up in the system. Just because you've added it here does not necessarily mean you can use it. You have to port it into the service as well, which I'm going to leave for me for right now. That's going to be in the more advanced training that we're going to do. Under the domains button, these are all the current active different phone systems we have for our customers. So we have one for Builders Market, one for Innotech, one for Local Favorite, and one for Wing Bucket. By far, our most active is for Local Favorite, so I'm going to spend the duration of our training inside of that little bucket. To manage that domain, click on the link for that domain, and you're in their domain managing it, and you can see at the top you're viewing the LFR group, Local Favorite domain. To go back, you would hit View All Domains. Right now, we're going to stay in here. These are all the current active phone calls in the system. So you can see where they're calling from, what they dialed, and what extensions are ringing or picked up answering. If you see multiple extensions in a row like that, like it just disappeared, that's them on a call queue waiting for someone to answer the initial call. So this is pretty neat. Once there's a call active, you can listen in on it. It's not always something you can do for incoming calls, but for outgoing calls, it's usually enabled. If you want to look at the call graph, I like to show the call volume by day. And for all calls, you can see that they take a lot of phone calls at Local Favorite. Their average is right around 2,000 somewhere. These are the metrics that I like to send to Diane at the end of the month. And you can look at these up, and I'll show you all that up too. All right, so any questions so far?
I have one, just to clarify, this is a cloud-based solution, not hosted out of our data center, correct?
That is correct. This is not hosted in a data center. This is hosted by a company called Simple Fiber. And they have geo-redundancy in 2 places across the US for us. So it's nice. It takes that mantle off of our shoulders, and we can just worry about getting customers and making their systems look pretty.
Gotcha. Okay. Are we also going to go over the other ones, or is it just this one?
We're just going to go over this system. Do you mean like the other domains, or do you mean like the older PBXs?
Like the other PBXs, like the NetDirect and what is it, Summit?
No, we're not going to go over those today because we're phasing those out. We really don't have to do much, and especially now that Local Favorite is off of that kind of system.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, we're not going to go over those unless you guys really want to do that, and I can host another
No, I
one.
was asking you because I was like, how, the time frame to when NetDirect and I guess Summit is off those PBXs, so we know how to troubleshoot it if there is an issue.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're not off of those systems pretty early in the year, in the next couple, maybe quarter or so, then yeah, we'll do a training on those so that you guys can help out on those as well. All right, under the users tab, it's pretty straightforward. There are 2 tabs under here, one for users and one for sites. You always want to set up sites first, and it just lists out what each location is. So Phoenix, Burleson, Snuffers, Addison. Inside here, you'll see there are 3 users and 3 registered phones. And using the sites is how you actually set the caller ID and the 911 caller ID for each client. It is immensely important that if a client is assigned with a phone, they have a 911 caller ID. If they do not and they call 911, we get fined big time. So that is something that you shouldn't have to worry about if you're just doing basic troubleshooting. If you're ever wanting to set up a site, or if I ask you to set up a site, I will walk you through very carefully how to do all of that. Looking at the users, I'm just going to pick the first one at the top here. Just type in the first name and last name is Laventana Addison. Login name is always their extension at their domain. That's set by default. You can set departments, but we're not doing that right here for these users. Those are more for like the corporate kind of style. Set the site, and then you can do call recording, announcing the audio in the directory, listening to the directory, which we do all of that. There's an option inside each user to set manually the caller ID and the 911 caller ID. It only shows up after you finish setting up the user. And we can do a different class for like set up a user like that. This is just a high level. We need to know how to troubleshoot certain things. So creating a user is not something that I would consider troubleshooting. This is where their email address is for receiving voicemails or notifications from the system. And then if you want to help them change their voicemail pin, you can change it here and press save. The system does support single sign-on for Google and Office 365. I've reached out for how to do Office 365 and haven't heard back yet, but it's something that we could employ at some point. It'd be kind of fun. Under the answering rules tab, this is where you would configure a user to receive phone calls if they wanted them on their cell phone and their desk phone. So you'd hit the edit button, and you could do simultaneous ring, include the extension, include all users' phones. So if this is not checked, let me rephrase. If this is checked and a user has a desk phone and a soft phone, they'll both ring at the same time. You can also ring an extra extension or an external phone number using this line right here. And if you wanted to wait, you could have it wait 7 seconds and then start ringing the cell phone. So I think Joe's the one who uses this the most because the soft phone doesn't always work for him. So we have him on here with his cell phone number as well. You can also see if the user has toggled on Do Not Disturb or is screening phone calls. If they manage to turn on call screening, it would be an amazing feat because I don't even know how to do that. But Do Not Disturb is toggle on their home screen, so you can untoggle that for them from here. On the voicemail tab, you'll see the restaurants don't have enabled voicemails, and I'll explain that in a little bit here. Yeah, I'm gonna explain that when I get to the call queues tab because it's a lot. For the rest of it is pretty straightforward. You can limit how big the voicemail box is. You can help them upload their greetings, whether or not they get an email notification. My favorite is to send the attachment and move to trash because it sends the whole voicemail, not just a brief message, and then moves it to trash so it's not taking up space in the voicemail box. But you can have other options like announcing caller ID, all that fun stuff in there. On the phones tab, this shows all the phones that have registered with this extension. So if this were one of our phones like mine, you would see my desk phone and my soft phone registered as well as my web app version of my phone. So you would see all 3 of mine. This is where you can help users set up Snap Mobile. You can send them this link to download and send them their information. It's pretty awesome. If you haven't used Snap Mobile, I think you're all on it. If you're not using it, you should be. And yeah, it's great. I love Snap Mobile. The Advanced tab, you don't really ever have to use unless you're re-inviting someone or just resetting them all the way. The only thing I've ever used in this tab is to send a welcome email, and it's just if someone just hasn't ever set up their stuff. So to tie in the voicemail and the call queues is where I'm going to go next, but does anyone have any questions about all of that so far?
So did you say it does do voicemail to text or voicemail to email?
The email, yeah, absolutely. Yep, and so that's actually set up through the call queues for the restaurants. So we're going to jump over there real quick and look at Al Phoenix Burleson. Call queues are like ring groups. They are how all the extensions ring at once. So for Al Phoenix Burleson, their direct phone number rings to this call queue. The type is ring all, so it rings all the phones at once. You see the site is set Al Phoenix Burleson as well. It's set to record calls and report statistics. The pre-queue options, require agents is always set to no, and require intro is always set to no. That way they don't have to listen to an intro recording. And if we required agents, it would be more like for a call center where they have to sign into their queue before they can accept a phone call. For us, we just want we want these phone extensions at the restaurants to all ring no matter what, so that someone can answer their phone calls. But you can get really, what's it called, detailed in here. You can do the max expected wait time so that the system will announce your call should be answered in the next 10 minutes or like that. If you set the max queue length for however many minutes, that will kick them out and send them to voicemail. For the in-queue options, this is the same thing that queue ring timeout. So the only way, there's two different ways you can set up a queue when you're setting it up. And let me show you real quick here. Because there are some options that are only available when you set up a brand new queue. And it's the queue audio is here. So if you're not careful and you're setting up a queue and you leave music on hold, they're going to hear some janky music when they call in. You want it to be ring back so that it actually sounds like they're making a phone call ringing in here. So you'll see voicemail here is set to yes. And there's a spot you can go to. Let me see here. I haven't set a voicemail for a restaurant in a while, so give me 1 second to remember that. It's under hide system users. So this is where it gets kind of janky, and please reference this video or ask me. The call queue options for voicemails are hidden back on the users tab. So if I wanted to look at Burleson's call queue, I look at Al Phoenix Burleson. There's their call queue right here, and I found this by unchecking hide system users. I'd go into edit. You can go to profile. I'm going to go to voicemail. Enable voicemail, and this would send it to anyone if they want to. Currently, and now this is a little bit weird, but currently marketing has stated that all restaurants should just ring continuously until the end of time, until someone picks up the phone, the caller hangs up. So no one is using voicemail. They all just ring for forever for the restaurants. But if you had a call queue that did have voicemail, like our service desk does, this is where that would be set up. So people could get the recording, leave voicemails, and they'd be emailed. That's the very fast rundown on call queues and that voicemail. Does anyone have any questions on that or anything I need to go back over? All right, the last thing for call queues then is actually editing the agents. You'll see here, if you hover over, you get a few different buttons. The agents button right here, click on that. This is where you can add and edit who is a part of the list. So Al Phoenix Burleson 1, 2, and 3, all those phones are a part of this queue. If you wanted to add more, you could just type in the extension number here, Phoenix WinStar, and add them in. Obviously, I'm not going to add WinStar in. We don't want to do auto answer. We don't want to change any of these defaults. That's just how you added them into that queue. Any questions on that, James?
Not right now. I think just logging in and kind of bouncing this video as I go back through it will help.
Yep. So one thing you can check in here is whether or not a restaurant has all their phones online. So you can see Phoenix Northwest Highway, only one of their phones is on for whatever reason. So these two phones are disconnected, which means they only have one phone that they're using to answer phone calls right now. So normally I go through here once a week or every other week, pending time availability, and email the restaurant and say, hey, I noticed two of your phones are offline. Is there anything else I can do to help you, or do you need to power cycle those? I don't often get an answer, but it's due diligence on our part that we can see that. So,
yeah. Adam, that's great that you're doing that. I didn't even know you're doing that. Can you make sure that you copy me and Diane on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start doing that.
Fantastic. Thanks.
So I'm going to skip a couple things and go over to the inventory tab here, because this is where you see a lot of good stuff. So obviously call routing, this is the big one for you guys. Because if someone's like, hey, my phone's or my internet's down, I need my calls forwarded to a cell phone. So let's say Messamaya downtown, that's the case. You come over here and find them. Unfortunately, there's no way to do this list by anything but the phone number, so you can't sort by treatment or destination. An easy trick is to hit your Command F or your Control F and just look for WinStar or whoever you want to find. Click Edit on that, and currently the treatment is to head to a call queue. You would change this to PSTN number and type in whatever phone number needs to get forwarded to. Once you hit save, all calls are going to be forwarded to this phone number. They will not be unforwarded until you go back in here, do the call queue, and WinStar's already in here, but you could type in WinStar, select that, no announcement, and then hit save. That's how you change phone numbers back and forth for external forwarding. I know that's the big one. The system does support text messages. And for a few of these things, like the auto attendance and texts, I'm going to show you when we get towards the end of this video, because it makes more sense on our system. This is an extremely handy tab here, the phone hardware. This is a live active feed for all the phones currently connected to the phone system for this client. And for the most part, if you hover over the note, you'll see what extension it is, because for whatever reason, they don't build that into this, what the extension's name is. So this is Twister Group Play, nothing like that. But if there's a green check mark, that phone is active and online and reporting to the system. If there's a red X, that means it is not reporting. And usually, if you hover over it, you see that this phone in particular has been offline since November 10th at 10 p.m. And that phone is Waxahachie 3, I think, or 5. Yeah, Waxahachie 5. So they've had a phone offline since November 10th and haven't said a word to us. This is another good list to go through, just to check on what users are doing. But if a user says, hey, my phone's not working, this is the first tab I come to. Is I come here, I know the extensions, so it's easy for me to find. But in order for you to find these extensions, because you don't want to have to go through and hover over every single line to find the right one. Let's say that WinStar says, my phones are all broken because they don't know their own phone number. You go type in Phoenix WinStar and just click whichever one you want to. It's extension 2964. All other extensions are in sequential order. So if you search for Phoenix WinStar 2, you'll see that's 2965. So I know that 2964, 65, and 66 are Phoenix WinStar. I can then go to the inventory tab, the phone hardware, sort by lines, and go down to 2964 and say you're out of your minds, all your phones are on. They're good to go. So that's one of the very first troubleshooting steps that I do, is making sure their phones are actually online. If they're not online, I ask them to power cycle, and I might pull up UNMS and see what DHCP is telling you about what phones are connected and what phones are not connected. 911 numbers can only be added from that front page that we talked about. Again, critically important. You shouldn't ever have to mess with anything in here. In fact, I prefer you don't mess with anything in here unless you specifically talk to me about it and know what changes you're making. Messing this up can cause a lot of problems. Any questions about the inventory tab? Perfect. Call history is extremely cool. It is a really cool tab. So it shows.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, what's up?
Are you recording this?
I am. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I know it's a lot, so I want to make sure that you guys know that you can always watch it. I'm going to get it uploaded to YouTube as well and send you guys a link for the training video.
Okay, perfect.
So this is so much great information on these tabs. So you can see who called and what number they dialed. You can actually see the quality of service from both ends, including the jitter, the packet loss, all that good stuff from origin to origin. It's super detailed. And then if there was a call recording in progress, or if there's a call recording there, you can actually listen to it or download it right from the browser. So our customers love this. This is the feature NetDirect wants the most in a phone system. I've shown this to them, and they want it really bad. Yeah, this is it for customers. They love this stuff. You can also do scheduled exports for exporting details of clients. So if you want a daily call report, like if you run a queue like NetDirect does, and you want to see who answered the most sales calls throughout the day, you can schedule that report to go to any number of people you want it to go to. And the filters are pretty great too. Anything you can imagine can be filtered by the caller ID number, the number they dialed, what they call type, inbound, outbound, or missed, all that good stuff. All right. If there are no questions on that, I'm going to move on to our domain to show you guys a couple more things. Cool. So going back to view all domains, I'm going to click on the Initech domain to go and jump into that one. All right, so we use a couple of auto attendants. We use one for Initech and we have one for WISP after hours. The auto attendants they work pretty well. They're very easy to configure. And you probably won't have to do much troubleshooting with these, but I want you guys to see them so you get a feel for them. So if you're ever configuring one, skip the intro greetings. The intro greeting is something that plays and the users who are calling can't skip. So if you've ever called into an automated number and said, "Thank you for calling," you try to press 1 right away and it doesn't let you, it's because those jerks have done that way. So we let our customers press buttons if they want to for this main greeting. And you can upload recordings, record right from the browser, download so you can listen to it. It's pretty neat. The option to dial by extension is always there. And if there are no keys pressed or if an unassigned key is pressed, it repeats the greeting prompt or goes to follow 3. And 3 goes to the service desk. So if you've ever used your desk phone or your Snack Level smartphone and you're getting a phone call and it says service in front of it, that means they pressed 3 for service desk. Likewise, they pressed 2 for accounting or 1 for sales, or 0, which is just service desk, but that's what they say to get the operator. So you know what they've pressed in the phone system, and you know how you can answer the phone call. It helps our users and us identify if a person needs help with service desk right away, we can jump into that mode. Or if they just weren't sure who to call and they just pressed operator, we can say, "Hey, thanks for calling. What can I do for you?" Help set up them and us for success. For texting, actually, I'm sorry, I should have one more thing. Were there any questions about auto attendants? And they're pretty easy, but any questions there? Okay. Something that Summit or Sunrise does is they actually have an option for accounting that goes to the corporate office. So instead of going to an extension, they want it to ring a specific number. Oh, no, it's not the corporate office. It's an external accounting business. So you can actually do an external number. play a message or send a voicemail or open the directory. There's a lot of cool things you can do with the auto attendant. Cool. Almost forgot that. Any questions there? Neat. Conferences are something we don't really use that much, but I use every time I can because I love it. This is our conference, and you can see that there are 0 participants. There are minimum 2 to start. And let's jump in here and show you how this all works. So if you were to call this phone number, the 900-3447, you'd hear, please record your name after the prompt so that anyone who is joining will hear your name. And if you're joining, they'll hear your name. If you want a PIN number for your conference, you can have that here. I don't, because this is just a general conference that we use anytime we need a call to happen and the other users don't have Team or Zoom. We use this phone number. You can set the max number of participants or the number of participants to start. Mine is 2, so if you called in and no one else called, you'd just be hearing our hold music until someone else joined in. And I think these options are pretty self-explanatory, but that is our conference bridge. They're great. You can have an unlimited number of them. They don't cost anything extra to the user, or at least from our end, and they're fun.
Do we have clients that use that?
We don't. So we used to. This is the old FRG conference that they used to use for things. I just programmed it in there because it was part of our old system. I didn't want to lose it, but we totally can. So far, no other users that have a system use this. But once we pull in NetDirect and Summit Alliance, they will use the conference bridge feature a lot.
Seems like a pretty good feature.
It's pretty cool. We did have, and this is the coolest thing too, you can look at reports. So you can see the number of participants was 2, and if you click on it, you can see who was in the conference. So I had a 5-minute phone call with someone on November 23rd at 9:15 a.m. Pretty neat stuff. All right. 3 more things to look at, and then we'll look at the personal portals, and we'll be out of here for you guys. Timeframes is business hours. So this is how our phones ring Monday through Friday, and if they go to voicemail after that. So if the call comes in between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., which this is actually 8 a.m., not 9 a.m. We get phone calls pretty early. Instead of going to our after hours message, they will get our regular auto attendant prompt and be allowed to press buttons and talk to us. You can set this to always, you can set this to days of the week and times or specific dates. So you can pre-program holidays in here. So if NetDirect wants a recording played over Christmas break, this is where I would set that up. I'd put this in here and I'd have it. And then how you would use this is going to inventory, picking the phone number, and enabling time frames right here, and setting the rule. So you pick the time frame for the rule. If it follows, you would send it to wherever you want to send it to, and if it doesn't, you would send it to where you want it to go when it doesn't. That's really quick, and you really shouldn't have to play with this much because it's very automatic. If you have any questions about that, watch this video or ask me. Don't mess with the music on hold, for the love of God. We have to be really careful what we use for digital rights management and all that stuff. So just don't mess with that too much. And then finally, texting. We do have some stuff that can use texting, like this is the bonded after hours or pre-hours text message line. This is currently set to go to Si's phone. This is our test one, and this is the main line. Something that I'm working on testing, just haven't had any time to yet, is the ability to text a queue, a call queue. So the idea being that if someone texted our office number, everyone on the service desk using the app would get a text through their Snap mobile app and be able to respond to it so that customers can actually text us when they have problems. So I should have time to finish playing with that soon. but that is coming down the line.
That is awesome, by the way, Adam, because I have to say I do love it at Bonded, and I got the Treehouse guys using it, so it works pretty cool. I have to say,
Yeah. It's great. Billy Huff texts me all the time from IES because she doesn't know how computers work, and it scares her. And it's wonderful. So before I move on to the personal portal that I want you guys all to see, does anyone have any questions, or is there any troubleshooting I missed that you want to see for this?
I don't think so.
Perfect. Okay.
Not really. Yeah, I'll watch the video again, but I'll double check and make sure.
All right. Well, then this is the personal portal. I'm going to log in as myself. That's who I have to log in as. And these are all of my stuff. So this is actually for the organization. I'm going to show you my account real quick here and what it looks like for a user when they log in. The user can see all of their current call history. They can see where they're going to simultaneously ring to, active phones, if they have any voicemails. The messages tab, they can play and read their voicemails in this tab. They can do chats. Like, so I had a doctor the other day who had a hard time with their authenticator because he couldn't check his email, so I just texted it to him real quick. And if you start a new conversation, it'll actually pop up in a pop-up window here. You can send and receive faxes through this portal. You can upload your contacts. It always takes a second to load in the fax. I wish I hadn't clicked on that. But you can send and receive all that good stuff. Users can change their own answering rules. They can set up their own time frames. So if users are going out of office, they can set up a time frame for themselves if they like to. And then you can see the 3 different phones I have: the web browser, the Justice phone, which is my cell phone, my desk phone at the office. And then I can look at my own call history. I was on the phone for an hour 2 days ago explaining to someone how PDF compression works. So it was an amazing conversation. The last thing I want to show you guys is the web phone. So if you hit app and hit web phone, it pops up right here. And it looks just like the Android version of the app that they use on your phone. So you can call your contacts, see your voicemails, get your call history, and read and send text messages. So this is Billy, by the way. Making a call is super easy. Just press new call and dial the number you want to dial. And then it rings and you're all happy. My keyboard. Which it just killed itself because I'm already on the phone. So, okay, that's the super fast rundown of everything. I really want to see you guys use your web phones and Snap mobile apps more because I don't want you to have to feel like you have to use your cell phone and give your cell phone number out to our customers. You don't have to do that. Got you guys hooked up. Yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Do you have the credentials for to log into this in OneNote?
Yeah, I've got the credentials to log in as the super user for this portal. I'm putting that in the OneNote right after this meeting.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
I wanted to wait till the meeting so that if anybody wandered in, they weren't just wandering in unassisted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are we all going to use the same credentials, or we're going to have like each individual one?
So I've just reached out to Simple Fiber before this meeting about that to see how they want us to treat super admins like that. For right now, we're all going to use that 101 at innovativetcs.com email
Okay.
or username. And if that changes, then I will let you guys know.
Sounds good.
Let's see here. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, just if you would, please put both portal links in OneNote.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Si, no questions?
No, I was gonna make sure that I had the login information correctly. I thought we were gonna set up our own. The only thing I have is on my Snap mobile phone. I'll come by and talk to you about it because I still can't file out of it. But that's my
Yeah.
own personal phone, so me and you can figure that out. But Yeah, no, other than that, no.
So
I
each user.
know, oh, go ahead.
Okay.
No, I just was gonna say the inventory tab looks like the most important tab that we'll be living in.
It's pretty important, yeah,
Mm.
especially for call routing. Excuse me. If anyone does not have access to your web phone or this portal that I've shown you for your own use, so this portal, if you don't have access to it, let me know after this meeting via Teams or email, and I will send you the invite link again so you can get in there and actually use it. It's the same username and password you use to log into the Snap mobile app on your phone. If you don't remember that, we'll get it reset for you, no problem. All right, boys, that's it. That's all I got for you. Let me know if you have any questions. If you get into the system to make changes and you're just not sure, I want you to be sure. Don't make changes if you're uncomfortable. Call me, text me anytime. This all seems really easy, and it is easy once you get used to it. But I just don't want you to be unsure and make a mistake that costs the customer time and money because they're missing phone calls. So don't be afraid to ask me. You know I will never yell at you for asking questions.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Hope you all have a great day and a Merry Christmas. If I don't talk to you again, you're all amazing people. Thank you very much for visiting. Thanks for watching this. I really appreciate it, guys.
No problem.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Merry Christmas all.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See you guys.
Bye.